Hello, hello. My name is April Malone with Yes, I Work From Home, and this is the podcast. Today I have Mark Degallier from Oro Valley, Arizona, which is near Tucson, with us. And he is the father of Emily Langer, who was my episode, I guess 2 episodes ago, whatever number that was. Come on
Mhm.
in, Mark. Thank you for joining us. She actually did say in the interview, you should interview my dad. And I was like, I would love that. So here we are. So the episode in between us, between this and that, was Eric Warner, who is also a friend of yours. So go ahead. Why don't you tell us? You're a web developer. What do you do? How long have you been doing it? How did you start working from home?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Um, yeah, I've been trying to work from home my whole life. Uh, the last bout of working from home has been 15 years, and I feel like my wife and I have finally made it work, and we're enjoying the fruits of all of our labors and lucks. Uh, so yeah, I just enjoy working from home because of all the benefits it provides for us and our family. And there's a lot of challenges too, but I think just remembering the reason we're at home and like the flexibility, and then remembering while we're doing it to take advantage of those benefits,
Oh,
because you can get
right.
sort of sucked into the work and never go out for a hike at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so
Mm.
that's why I'm doing it, so I can do that, but I don't hike nearly as much.
Have you always been a web developer? Is that where you started, or what path have you followed to get to now?
Oh dear. I sort of fell into it. I really wanted to be an artist. Um, and some of my first jobs were in graphic design in the early 90s when multimedia was the big deal. Uh, so I was trying to do art and graphic design for that, but um, it required some programming sometimes too. And I was also had an engineering background. So I ended up doing the programming in those small graphic design multimedia shops, and they found out I was a much better programmer than an artist. So
Uh-huh.
I ended up with that work instead of the graphic design. Um,
So you said that the most recent 15 years you've been working from home, but you have had a few goes at it. How long overall in
yeah,
all did you work from home so far?
well, I haven't added it up, but it'd be the last 15, and then there was 4 years when we were first married, and we had 2 babies. I was just right out of college. I just thought I'm going to start a business, which I don't think that's really good advice. I think my advice would be learn from somebody else for a while and then start a business. But um, gave it a go for 4 years and then started working it for other people. And then every 5 years or so, I would try it again. Until I just never had a lot of margin for savings and such. So
Yeah.
if I had a dry month, it was just devastating. So then I'd have to go back and get a real job. As someone once told me, you should get a real job. So
The definition of real job
that's all
these
right.
days has changed a few times, I think, but I hear you. I mean, I actually just accepted a temporary job.
Mm-hmm.
My main form of income from the last several years dried up just recently, and I'm temporarily going to be an online teacher, but like in alternative school where the students are physically sitting in the room with me,
Mm-hmm.
taking online classes, but with I'll be kind of like a proctor who grades their stuff too.
Yeah. Well, I understand what they mean. It's no, you know, most jobs come with benefits and healthcare and retirement and a secure paycheck.
So maybe rather
At
than
least it's
saying a real job, it's more like a traditional job.
Yeah, but it would have been less hurtful.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, so I had to sort of roll with the punches and do what I had to do to keep the
Mhm.
family fed and housed.
Yeah. But for the last 15 years, now, do you still have any minors living with you, or is everyone grown and gone now?
They're all grown and doing well,
Okay.
which is which I like to say that was my main job, and it was one success that I think I've had.
My grandmother always, I don't know if this was her quote or if she was quoting someone else, but she'd always say, that she had so many kids and none of them a felon. None of them a felon.
That's a high bar.
Yeah. I mean, you can be a good mom to felons too, but um
Mhm.
so going back, what was your original motivation for wanting to start your own business right out of college?
Well, I thought, having the freedom would be great. Um, and then I also thought there'd be a lot more potential in having my own business. I'd be able to control, the finances and make a killing. Uh, but yeah, it didn't quite work out that way.
You
I
weren't the
mean, even with the
1%.
best plans, sometimes it's not the right time.
Yeah.
And that particular business was the wrong time for me.
Hmm.
Um, but most recently, or like 15 years ago, when I started this full-time consulting, I was working at a small web development company, and it was no disrespect to them. They were paying me as much as they could, and there weren't many benefits and such. So I started freelancing, and after a couple of years doing that, I was making as much freelancing for just a few hours a night, than I was working full time.
Hmm.
And because of our priorities, my wife and I thought, one of those has to go, because I want to spend time with my kids and the family. That's always been my number one job.
You
And
didn't want two full-time jobs.
no, well, even one and a half, it's just one's enough.
Yeah.
uh, and I know that's not for everybody, but that's what
Hmm.
we chose. Um, so we had to decide which one. You know, I could work at home with my own and not have any benefits, or I could work for someone else and not have any benefits.
Right.
So I thought, well, let's give it a whirl.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And we tried that many times before, so we knew it was risky.
Yeah.
But I keep trying and roll with the punches.
So
And
basically what you
it didn't
did,
go that well the first couple of years. Sorry,
oh, go
didn't go
ahead.
that well the first couple of years, but a few years into it, I found a contract that kept us alive for 5 years. And then when that one dried up, this a state contract came up with, I had to bid on this big contract with the state of Minnesota. And I thought, who am I? I have no business even trying. And so I thought just for an exercise, I'll write it out. And I had a 50-page proposal. And I just thought, this is stupid. They're just going to laugh at me. And I was going to just throw it away, but I handed it in and I got it. And I've been doing that for 7 years, and I don't know, it's been the best thing ever. So
Well, good. So the first
just try.
time, sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, I was just saying, you just can't be afraid to try and get laughed at.
Because it might pay off and give you the
Right.
freedom that you were looking for. Yeah. So the first time you tried working from home straight out of college, you didn't have that side gig. You were just going for it and you hadn't really proved it. Where
Mhm.
the second time you were doing them alongside so you could see that this could pay
Exactly.
off. It could. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do that sort of thing where they, basically transition one thing into another and then let go um,
Hmm.
of that, more traditional job once they proved it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so let's see here. And then I know from my interview with Emily that you were also homeschooling your children during those years. So you all were kind of
Yeah.
at home. Was your wife
Yeah.
also working during those years? Was she working during those years or was she primarily focused on the home education?
Primarily with the home education, but she also um, has an entrepreneurial spirit.
Mm,
We were renting a farm at one point and we had goats. And I made a website for her to sell goat milk soap.
nice.
And yeah, it was sort of a nice little side business we had for a while. So she did other side businesses too. And at one point, we needed some extra money, and she got a part-time job. And I think that those were the years when Emily mentioned I was at home homeschooling,
Oh, right.
and recess was watch MASH for a while.
Oh my
Sometimes two
goodness.
episodes, but she came back home and got us all back into shape again. But I don't know, we
I
like
mean,
being
I have no
together,
judgment.
and yeah. uh, my wife and I've been married for 30 years, and we like being together, working together. And when the pandemic hit, we didn't really feel much different. Uh,
Hmm.
we were still working from home and didn't affect my industry too much. So
Right. And not everyone can say that. Not everyone feels like they would do well or that their marriage would
no,
survive
it's not.
working side
Yeah,
by
it's not for
side.
everybody.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other questions from that era that I wanted to get to. Um, oh, where were you living back then? When you started this business 15 years ago, were you in Wisconsin or Minnesota, or did you ever live in
Wisconsin,
both? Okay.
just across from Winona, Minnesota.
Right. Okay.
Hmm.
So you were started there, and then at what point did you transition to Arizona?
Just 3 years ago, we um, we realized we were empty nesters, and
Mm.
we are I don't know, don't want to insult any Minnesotans, but we were tired of the weather.
That's why I left.
and and we thought, well, we can do this. I asked my client if it'd be okay, if I was elsewhere, and they said, well, we're all working from home too, so
So they
we won't
understood.
even know.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked on site in the Rochester area until the summer of 2008. The winter of 2007, 2008 kicked my butt. It was like super high winds that year, lots of dry snow and blizzard conditions, and that interstate I-90, that the same commute that your daughter was doing from Austin to Rochester, it was deadly. Like there's diehard
Yeah.
Minnesotans and then there's like dead Minnesotans, and I didn't want to be one of those. And so I bought a house. Yeah. 9 hours south, and I never expected to come to Arizona. My cat just came in. Here, kitty. She's been a little sick lately. We don't know how many more years we're gonna have with her, if many. So we're trying to figure out all of her issues. She thinks that our entire house is her litter box now, which has
Oh
been
no.
pretty stressful. When it worked, she knew where her litter box was for 14 years, and now doesn't. So um yeah, I moved to Missouri, met my husband, spent a couple of 4 years actually in Illinois, and then he ended up getting a job here, which was not on my radar at all. And it was kind of like a culture shock for me because, like, if you if you intended to move to Arizona, I unexpectedly moved to Arizona. So how did you did you look over the 50 states and you think, where would I want to live, and you chose Tucson or the Tucson area?
Yeah, well, my wife did a lot of research. She's a expert Googler,
Mm-hmm.
and we we listed everything we didn't like about where we were, and found we did a search for like noise pollution, air pollution, how many days of sunshine a year, and it all landed in Oro Valley, Arizona. It's like
Like
seemed like the perfect
specifically
place for us. Yeah.
Oro Valley. Like you didn't just like try to move to Arizona, you wanted to move specifically to the city that you went to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we would never be able to afford to buy a house here, but we found a really good deal renting.
Good.
And
I hope you're locked in right now.
Well, it's year to year, but they've been good to us the 3 years we've been here.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Oro Valley. We've never even visited Tucson.
Uh-huh. Well, Oro Valley is like a suburb of Tucson. Can I tell you? It's sort of a lot of professionals living here. A lot of great views of mountains. Got the saguaros all around us. We have a lot of wildlife in our backyard. I don't know whether those the aspects you were looking for or not. But as far as getting back to working from home, it's been a little challenging to find friends. Because, we don't have currently have any other clubs we belong to.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit also, so we weren't able to join any.
Right.
So we're just sort of restarting and finding some community here.
It usually feels like it takes me a good 2 years to feel settled in. Mm-hmm. And even though you've been there for 3, the last year and a half, almost 2 years, don't count. So mm-hmm. I can see that being a thing. Now, are you finding ways to stay connected with your previous tribe, if you will, from back home?
Yeah. So we travel back, try to travel back once a year, and people come out to visit us. Mm-hmm. And of course, we Zoom with our granddaughter.
Yep.
We started doing that during COVID, which really didn't matter. We should have been doing it before that.
Yeah. I get it, because I have a million brothers and sisters and my parents, and we basically only talked on the phone like every few weeks, if not months sometimes. In COVID, like mm-hmm. we got regular, like we got consistent with, the weekly thing. How often do you find yourself Zooming?
Lately it's been less and less, but every 2 weeks maybe we'll Zoom with Mina, and we also got a Switch, so we do driving with our kids on Mario Kart. And they're cool. All in Minnesota, and so we raced last weekend and have conversations while we race.
We have a Switch as well, but we didn't have it connected to an online account until we got a game called Splatoon 2. And that basically required an online account where you'd have to compete against others to be able to mm-hmm. get the next level of, it's like a paint spreading game. So you're like splatting and splashing and dumping and rolling and shooting paint all over the place. And so we had gotten by without an online account for 2 years, but now that we have that, it'll make it a little easier for us to connect with some friends for some of those games that, mm-hmm. The way that normal people do that. But we, because of the age of our kids, we are very cautious about, how they could communicate with others online and, how we can protect them. And so mm-hmm. far, so good. And I think that the kids have a pretty good awareness now of, why and how we are trying to keep them safe. My cat is just loving all this attention right now. She doesn't usually come in while I'm recording. So, what about for your work? Are you primarily sitting at a desk in an office? Do you, how do you have your
Yeah.
office set up in your home right now?
Well, this is it. Uh, I have, I broke down and bought a Windows laptop, which I said I would never, ever, ever, ever do again. I've been
Oh,
doing work on a Chromebook for all this time,
oh, really?
which was, I guess I did it because of a boycott and the challenge to see if it could be done.
Nice.
But since I got a more online teaching work, I needed to get a PC, so I made the switch
Right.
over.
A lot of the
Um,
LMS, like the learning management systems, some of them don't work on a Chromebook.
hmm,
I've learned.
yeah.
So, why don't you talk about this? So, you have been doing your web development for 15 years, the last 7 with a particular client out of Minnesota. What
Hmm.
was this teaching job?
Well, one of my old bosses had a contact at the school in Winona, and they were looking for a teacher. And he said, he wasn't interested, so he said, wondered if I would be. And I admit I hadn't even thought about doing that, but I said, sure. And
When
so
was
it's
this?
online teaching. This was, I don't know, 4 years ago, and it was just one class. So
Mhm.
it wasn't enough to get any benefits or anything. It was sort of like adjunct
Yeah.
teaching online.
Okay, so this was before you moved to Arizona.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. So Winona is a Minnesota city, and this is why I think I thought that you also had lived in Minnesota at some point, but it was Emily who had
Right.
lived in Minnesota. Okay. And I lived
Right.
in Minnesota. So
Right.
just across the border, basically, the La Crosse, Wisconsin area is a smaller city also. Are they the same size, Winona and La Crosse?
I lived in a really small town of 800 people in
Mm,
Wisconsin called Fountain
okay.
City,
All right.
and that's on the Mississippi. And we were real literally on the Mississippi. We saw the river from our house
Oh, wow.
just across the street.
Emily
And
mentioned the
then,
bluffs and how gorgeous it is out there.
yeah. And so we drove across the river to go grocery shopping and to go to Winona, the
Okay.
20,000 size city.
So
So
Winona
there's a
was
tech
your
school
big
there.
town. Okay.
Yeah, and I was born there. Um, so there's a tech school there, and they needed a HTML instructor,
Okay.
and that grew into also teaching web graphics, which I said previously I was no good at, but at my one
But can
job.
you teach it?
But I can teach it.
Yep.
That's don't, yeah. That doesn't
Okay,
mean
so
that teachers can't do it.
right. So you already had been working as a freelancer or web developer and teaching, and then you moved. So were all of your classes always online?
Yes. Hmm.
So that
Yep.
wasn't a
And
problem
then
either then.
no, and then this year they needed to teach 2 more classes. So I had 4 classes, which boosted me up to a level where I could get benefits,
Oh,
which
right.
is crazy. I know that, it's beyond working from home, being self-employed has its own benefits and issues, and healthcare is one of them. And
Let's
so I
talk about that.
started getting these benefits, and I'd never had benefits my whole life. I've been working for 30 years,
Hmm.
and now I have, matching retirement. Um,
Nice.
I mean, and yeah, healthcare. And I was telling my kids all about these perks I'm getting. I said it just feels dirty, I just don't know what to do with it. I don't deserve this. So,
Oh my goodness.
so yeah. Before that, I know we chatted before we started recording about it. I don't know what's been recorded or not. Um, we were sort of struggling as we raised our family. The kids, we see old movies of the kids in their sweatsuits, which they wore all year round, from Goodwill or something. And we just, that's how we lived. And sometimes we had health insurance, sometimes we didn't. Sometimes, we had to go out on our own and find the plan all on our own, or we were even on state healthcare, which was really pretty nice. Because when I was 30, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is an expensive and time-consuming disease.
Right.
And my wife has issues too, and so I think part of working from home has helped. It makes it a lot easier to make doctor's appointments and manage your diseases or conditions. Where if I was an employer, I'd be frustrated with me as an employee because I'd be either messing with my health all the time or going to appointments.
Okay.
This way I can take the time and do it. And
you have a very understanding boss when it's you.
I know. He's amazing. But yeah, so up until last year, before last year, we were on the marketplace plans, which were pretty good at the beginning. But they were fairly expensive. But that was the price we paid for our independence. And I keep reminding myself, if I ever get bitter about not having all the things I dreamed of when I was a kid, a big house and an airplane, and I think, well, obviously I had a higher priority of spending time with my family than having an airplane. And so I have to remind myself that, I've arrived. I have what I wanted. I have that freedom. And to be content with that.
Your priorities changed too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, when I was little, I had dreams, but I didn't know what priorities were. Sometimes something has to give, and what's important bubbles up to the top.
So now, as of a year ago, you have the benefits that include your health insurance, and you live in basically like the paradise that you've chosen for your family. That you and your wife, you scouted out and you picked where you wanted to live, and you achieved that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wake up every day and think, I can't believe I live here, or I'm in this situation.
I feel like that.
Reality is it may not last forever.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I got to be thankful every day for that day, and go out and do some hiking.
When we moved here, we were coming in the middle of the month of April, right into summer, and it wasn't until October, November, December, January, February, March that I realized, oh, this is why people like Arizona so much. I didn't know it could be so wonderful. I don't know if Tucson is just as brutal in the summer as it is here up by the Phoenix metro area.
Well, it's maybe 5 degrees cooler, but that means it's 105. So yeah, the summers aren't that great. It's sort of, we figure it's like winter. You just spend time indoors like winter is in Minnesota.
I have described it exactly.
Except you can go outside without putting a coat on.
They say
you don't
have to shovel sunshine. It's a dry heat.
That's right.
It's growing on me for sure. I don't know if we can imagine ourselves living here indefinitely, but that's like currently the plan. It just would be nice if it would be a little easier to travel back and forth. Like,
Yeah.
once, since I had lost some of my income over the last year and a half by needing to reduce my hours to be with my kids more to help them with their online school, the perk of being able to just hop on an airplane and fly was, a little harder. Well, obviously the pandemic too, and made it harder in
Right.
lots of different ways. So I'm looking forward to, maybe next year it'll be easier to fly again and to see
Mhm.
families. So we're actually planning on maybe by the time that this is published, we will know if we're there or not, but we might try to drive to Minnesota for Christmas, depending on
Oh,
a lot
great.
of factors that we're not sure if
Yeah.
they will. We don't know yet. But the cool thing is that my husband has a little vacation. We just have to get him back to be able to work from home. But honestly, we should probably just take his work computer along just in case there's a blizzard and he has to work from he could work from a
Chances are.
hotel if we needed to, where in the
Mhm.
past we couldn't. And I am going to be on basically a vacation with my kids, until January 4th. So,
Great.
but yeah, once I come back in January, I will be working on site part of the time and then doing this and some other things from home. So I'll kind of be in that hybrid situation too. Let's talk a little bit about your setup right now. Are you set up in a living room, in an office, in a bedroom?
Oh,
Where are you working out of?
this is a bedroom. Uh, we're renting this, what is it, 3-bedroom house.
Mhm.
Uh, and so one bedroom is my office, and my desk behind me is for my hobby, uh,
Mhm.
doing model airplanes.
All right.
And I do some art, some paintings back there. Um,
So you are an
and
artist
so my
and
setup, well,
you have airplanes. They're just smaller than you
yeah,
maybe originally
that's right.
thought.
You can't uh, stop it if it's going to happen. But yeah, my setup. So I got this fancy mic for my recordings for teaching,
Okay.
and I have a green screen. Trying to be more professional about that. I don't know if anyone appreciates it. My
Take it or
students,
leave it.
but it's nerdy and it's fun. So um, Emily may have mentioned, well, she did mention her minimalism, and I think my wife and I have embraced that also. Um, so our house, the setup is pretty minimalist, very very clean. I mentioned we were having trouble making friends. We had some friends over, and one couple said, "Does anybody live here?" Because it was sort of weird for them, I guess, to see our house. And then another couple said, "This is intimidatingly clean."
Aw.
so, so I told my wife, "That's why we don't have friends." So,
No, to each their own though, right? Let
yeah,
people
so
be
we're
who they
gonna
are.
when we have people over, we're gonna go mess it up a little bit. But
Hang a few
I
extra
really
pictures.
I can't think in a mess, so I'm a little weird that way.
My husband would probably agree with you, but apparently I do just fine because I'm looking around and I'm not a minimalist at all. So, I would like to I enjoy downsizing. I enjoy the end result, but the process is more emotionally taxing. So
Hmm.
sometimes I am just not, ready or fit to go through it right now.
Yeah.
So you have uh this is a bedroom. Is it set up as an office or like a guest bedroom?
No, it's just an office.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have two separate desks. Why did you choose to do two separate desks?
The desk I'm at is sort of an L shape. So I have one of my monitors is up here, and I can do some writing on this side. And then my hobby desk that's my messy area. You know,
Hmm.
if I'm in the middle of a project,
You can leave it out.
it's a place to leave it there, and it's not in the living
Hmm.
room. It's not in our guest bedroom.
Okay.
And this
Yeah.
is a fairly big room, so
Hmm.
it was good to have those two desks.
Nice. Is your wife also working from home at this time?
No, she's just enjoying her retirement, and
Good.
she's volunteering at a botanical garden here and doing a lot of neat stuff there.
That sounds wonderful. We're talking a little bit, and I've talked about this a few times in the past, that you ask, why did you start the podcast? And for me, part of it is for me to be able to have the conversations. You said that you record your teaching. So does that mean that you're doing any live presentations, or is everything asynchronous where you basically prepare a lecture, deliver it to a camera, and then they receive it whenever they want to watch it?
It's all asynchronous. But this semester I've done more volunteering to go one-on-one with students over Zoom that need help. So, and that's been great. So I really enjoy that.
Your students aren't your friends, but just even having the interaction is just literally having an interaction versus just speaking to a camera.
Yeah, I didn't realize, I thought I was doing them a favor by doing these Zooms, and it was really helpful for me to have some interaction with another human.
Yeah. Or to feel like you're just
even
able
though
to
I'm an introvert, I
build rapport.
I need people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how are your students responding to that? Are they taking you up on it?
Yeah.
Is that optional, or is that part of the interaction that they're expected to have?
It's optional. Yeah.
Kind of like office hours or something like that?
Right. Office hours.
Okay.
And in the past, I think before COVID, I would offer, but no one would take me up on it. But I think people are more accustomed to it. It's just like having a regular meeting now. It's not,
it may be more
weird or awkward or a lot more.
So between these two things that you're doing with your web development and your teaching, about how many hours a week are you putting in these days?
That's where my kids sort of laugh at me, because between the two of them, maybe 30 hours. And I could work more, but I think, with the rate I'm charging, I'm making enough. And I want to enjoy the life I've been given. So, and this is the time to do it. Now. I don't know when will I, when I'm done. I don't know if I'll ever be done. So I might as well enjoy a little bit as I go.
So 30 hours feels good for you, like not too much, not too little?
Yeah, it's fine. I feel guilty. But, some people are just working so hard. And there are weeks or months when I do have to put in some hard work and really put my head down and push through a project. But then my boss says I can, but my boss being me says I can let up after that.
Nice.
A little bit.
That's awesome. Let's see here. We've got Oro Valley is about 45 minutes to an hour from the Phoenix metro area?
2 hours.
Is it really? Are you further out than Tucson?
Well, we're on the north side of Tucson. So it's almost 2 hours to get to Mesa.
Oh, okay.
So
I need to remember that next time.
Since you're in the neighborhood, you should come down and visit.
We want to. We're looking. There's a thing. Maybe that would be something to look into if your granddaughter ever comes down. But there's a thing called the Poco Pass, and I guess they have some options for the Tucson area as well. But it's kind of like, rather than buying a membership to the zoo or buying a membership to some trampoline park, this actually kind of gives you a membership where you can try something different every weekend. And there's a lot of sports tickets and things like that. It's kind of like one of those entertainment packs that you used to be able to get, or you could probably still buy them. So like every 3 months you get like a free mini golf and a free trampoline thing. And then like every week you could
Mhm.
go here or there or the other thing. Um, I think that in the course of the year you would get 2 tickets into the zoo per person. Uh, so we're looking at possibly getting that as a Christmas present.
Hmm.
Either if we receive money from family, which I think was the plan, or something that
Hint, hint.
yeah, no, I think it's on its way. And that's what my parents have done for us the last few years, is just like there's a children's museum up in the Phoenix area that we like to go to, so they would just buy us a membership when we go. um, but
Mhm.
now we could go, here, there, or the other place. So there are a few things down in Tucson, and that might give us a reason to get down there, to go use, our
Yeah,
pass and see Tucson. And I know there's a lot of like really kind of cool museums and things on there too.
yeah.
But specifically Oro
It is.
Valley, I mean, that's never been on my radar. I didn't even know about it until you explained it.
Hmm.
Is it known for something, like for the hiking specifically?
I don't think specifically. There is a great state park here, Catalina State Park,
Okay.
um, and Mount Lemmon is above Tucson, where they have skiing for about a month in the winter
Oh, really?
if
So
it
you guys
snows.
get,
Yep.
how far is it? Do you have to like travel up the mountain to get to the snow, or are you already
Yeah,
at an
it takes
elevated
about
height?
an. It's 11 miles as the crow flies from our house,
Okay.
but it
Uh-huh.
takes an hour to get up there.
Oh. Oh my
It's a
goodness.
long,
What?
windy road up the mountain.
Oh my goodness.
But I
So
haven't skied there yet. That's on my bucket list, I guess.
I feel like it's about, man, 4 hours to get to Flagstaff from here. And that's where we would go to see snow.
Hmm.
But now I know we could also travel south to go find snow.
Yeah,
Is it like a
you
ski
better
resort
check
up the
first.
mountain?
See if
If
it
there
does
is.
have snow.
Yeah.
It's not going to be
Is
as good as Flagstaff.
like, are there, oh, okay. It was interesting to me when we did visit Flagstaff last year that the like the style of the houses and like the feel of the city reminded me a lot of like Austin, Minnesota, where Emily just
Yeah,
moved from. Similar size of
yeah,
town.
it's sort of
And
like the North Woods.
yeah. So my kids, it's so, different, like to go visit snow versus to just have to
Hmm.
exist in the snow. All right, I want to change gears for a minute and ask you, how do you manage your time? So it's just the two of you bumping around in the
Hmm.
house. And do you get distracted? Are you very focused?
I can be focused. Um, if I have a casual work day, I can allow myself to get distracted. I don't know if that's a very good answer. Generally, one of the benefits in which we want to take advantage of is not having an alarm.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wake up when I wake up, and I have my coffee, and then I go to work.
That
Uh,
sounds glorious.
and
No alarm?
where did I hear? I don't know if this has anything to do with what we're talking about. I like sleeping, getting good night's sleep. So I think it's good for your health and your mind. So we just don't have an alarm. Uh, but you spend a third of your life sleeping and a third of your life working. Well, I guess I don't. Uh,
Not
but
currently.
so working from home, I think I have to um, not think that this office is always here in the house and get pulled into it all the time, because that other
Mhm.
third is mine, and a third of my life is mine, and what I do with it is up to me. And
Yeah.
I like spending it with my wife and family and doing some other
Hiking.
creative projects.
Yeah. Do you
But
have
then,
an
yeah, so as far as my schedule, I put in a couple hours in the morning and then a few hours in the afternoon. And I guess, in between there, I can get distracted with some non-billable work, like billing and server maintenance
Okay.
and computer maintenance. So it's not all billable.
So are you doing it like in a block of like 3 hours in the morning and a block of 3 hours in the afternoon?
That's generally the plan. It's nothing very rigid.
Mm-hmm. I see in your Google form that you filled out for me, you have a recommendation of Harvest Time Tracker. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of different time trackers out there, but I just wanted to recommend that one because I've been using it for all this time, probably 15 years, and it's just easy to start a timer on a project for a certain client, can set up the rate for that project,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just stop it, and when your day is done, and then at the end of the month, I just run a report, and it spits out invoices for all my different clients, and it has just made my life easier as far as that goes.
I haven't
Before
ever
that,
had to use
I was a
something
little
like
messy
that.
with time tracking,
Okay.
but this way it works. Yeah.
I generally have worked an hourly job, or, you log in for a meeting and you get paid for that time. It's also hourly, but just a little different format.
Mhm.
So I haven't ever had to track my hours in that way. How many of these hours software, what did you just say? The non-billable billing and other things,
Mhm.
does that all add up though too? Are you counting that in your 30 hours a week?
I used to. And that's that part of the 30. Probably, but it's not a huge percent. It's maybe
Mm-hmm.
10% is
Mm-hmm.
administrative, non-billable stuff.
And
Yeah.
I also see you mentioned YNAB.
Yeah. So
I know what YNAB is, but you might have to tell it as
our
though people don't know what that is.
YNAB stands for You Need a Budget, and it's a web-based it's a website and an app for personal finances. Um, and it sounds strange, but we've over the years we've tried to have a budget, and our income has always fluctuated so much, and they say that it's not an excuse that you don't have enough money to have a budget.
Mm-hmm.
But since we started making more money, we thought we'll try this budgeting system. And we took advice from our millennial kids who are all using YNAB.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing. It sounds like, who wants to get excited about going out and buying Quicken? It sounds horrible. But YNAB has a lot of fun videos, and the whole system itself it's not accounting. It's
Yeah.
sort of like a philosophy. Um,
I heard
you
it
you
described
pay
as, oh, go ahead.
I think their main motto is you give every dollar a job. So when you get
Mm-hmm.
a check, you put it in YNAB and you give it give each dollar a job, and
Yeah.
then your check is gone. And but your bank account has all the money in it. And if you have to buy something or spend something, you look at your category, and you know how much you can spend in that, dining out, let's say, or I want to buy a new airplane.
You're right. Well,
Do I have any money in my airplane budget? And
I
no,
listened to
well, I guess I can't.
Mhm. I listened to their podcast for some time. I used to listen to,
Mhm.
Dave Ramsey and YNAB. And they just have very different flavors, and maybe like one
Yeah.
approach will work better for a certain personality type than another. I always
Hmm.
felt like Dave Ramsey's style was like my dad telling me what I should do, where I feel
Hmm.
like the YNAB folks were more like a compassionate brother
Friend.
giving me
Yeah.
some
Uh-huh.
like, advice that, from things that they have learned.
Hmm.
Just a very different tone, I think, though I will
Yep.
admit, and I'm admitting this on the show. It kind of the YNAB app, like we had a hard time figuring it out. And I think that if we were to
It's
do it again,
tricky.
we'd have
Yeah.
to categorize things a little differently rather than like looking at like debts versus income. We would have to just look at all
Hmm.
of our bills rather than just
Hmm.
like, because otherwise, with the fact that we owned two houses for a while, it was just too complicated. And I think we would be in a better place to try it again now.
Yeah.
But I have a friend who just posted again, I think today or yesterday, about how much money it's helped him save. Oh, the whole give every dollar a job. I think the other thing about the YNAB approach is that they look at the money that you have or that you're getting and how you're going to spend it, where a lot of the other things like the Excel sheets for people just basically document what they did with their money. So it's very, rather than looking forward, they're always looking
Hmm.
backward. And
Hmm.
the YNAB approach is more forward thinking, like here's what you're going to make, how are you going to handle it, versus just documenting how many lattes did I buy last month.
Hmm. And to be honest, I'm not that great at it. It is a little tricky to understand, but so is, regular accounting, and
Yeah,
that isn't as helpful.
it was a little
Um,
embarrassing because I was like, we've got 3 master's degrees between the two of us. And for some reason,
yeah,
YNAB is not as intuitive as
but
we had
it's
hoped it would be. I'm
yeah,
sure it probably is. We probably just would have needed to accept some help.
but it is true. It really does work, and it's sort of fun, and it does it. You will see your money grow. I I think. Um,
Yeah.
and you mentioned what my wife does. She does that, so I can't really talk much more about it because she's the
That's
expert
her
about it.
job.
But it has really transformed our financial picture.
Good.
And she also does all of our healthcare and bills, and so she's busy doing all kinds of administrative stuff.
Just
And so
balancing
I
the
feel like
household.
working from home,
Mhm.
it's a team, and
Yeah.
each, whether one is professional and one is family stuff, it's all the same.
Yeah.
The professional stuff is for the family, and
One of the
the family
questions that,
stuff is to help the professional.
right. That's one of the things that I've asked a lot in the show is just, how do you balance or manage or juggle the household responsibilities with your work responsibilities? And
Hmm.
for you two, you've divided and conquered.
Hmm. Well, I do a fair amount of vacuuming too. So
Good. Who does the cooking in your family?
my wife, I try once in a while, but
Yeah,
uh,
for us, my
don't
husband.
tell anybody. I sort of fail on purpose
No.
because
Is she gonna watch this? um, yeah, in our family, my husband, he works his full-time job and he does more of the cooking and cleaning than I do. But we
hmm
still have young children and there's a lot going on with managing
yeah,
their or not their responsibilities, but their activities.
yeah,
Doctor's appointments, all of that falls on me most of the time.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Well, I usually like to ask people if there was someone that came to you and was thinking about working from home for the first time. Now, you are seasoned. You've done this in a few different stages of your life. So
hmm
maybe you could break it down, for someone who's thinking about starting off working from home for the first time as a freelancer versus maybe like the online teaching thing with benefits. Like you kind of have your foot
hmm
in both worlds. Could you give some advice to both of those categories?
yeah. Um, well, I guess it's difficult because I feel like other people I've looked at and tried to aspire to be, I didn't reach it, but that's because I'm not them. So it's probably going to look different than what I have. I feel really fortunate where I am right now. And I remember it was a struggle to get here. So just remember that it's not going to be easy, but if you want the benefits that you're going to get, and are willing to pay the price, the cost is perhaps some security, perhaps, dealing with like the healthcare we talked about, or you just got to roll with punches and figure out what you need to do to get the life you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess probably one of the biggest lessons was out of college, probably don't start your own business without any experience. So, if you have a job and you have a lot of experience and you have, and don't quit your job until you have clients lined up, those are all sort of basics you think I would have known. But, sometimes it feels hopeless and make some rash decisions. But at some point it is a stretch. You have to just make the jump.
Your daughter mentioned something that she really enjoyed from some of those years, though, was being able to have breakfast with her parents in the morning, or drink a cup of, what was it, coffee or hot chocolate or something like that out in the back.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to describe the scene for us, because I'm
the back porch.
it. Was it the back porch? Okay.
Yep. I think I mentioned to you in my form that I always, my biggest dream was to have this big house and a family and to be a dad. And then, but being a dad was always trickled up to being the most important thing to me. So it was great being able to work from home many of the years as the kids were growing up. So I was able to spend a lot of time with them, because it's really limited time that we have with them, and they're grown now and they're doing well, and I feel good about that.
Yeah.
There are no felons.
Not a felon among them.
I guess I don't know how to put it. Sometimes I feel a little guilty that I don't work as hard as other people, but that was part of the plan. I wanted to work smarter and not harder. And now that I achieved it, why should I feel guilty about it? Let's do it. This is it. Let's do it while we can. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then what about for the people that do need to have those health benefits and the teaching job? Do you have anything that you want to say about that angle?
Well, if you don't have an employer health benefit, there are a lot of resources available. There's always the marketplace plans. They're a little expensive, but that's the cost of being self-employed. That's one of those costs, the price to pay. And if you're really starting out and, you may also qualify for a state plan, which would be free. So no shame in that. I believe we should take care of each other. So healthcare is an important part of life.
I would rather have the state plan than no insurance in case unexpected health, condition or something appeared.
I don't know if I answered your question. Is that the right track, or?
Yeah. What about just I guess one of the things that I like to just remind people is just that, working from home doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go the entrepreneurial route, especially right at the beginning. Right. You can get a work from home job as an employee or as a freelancer, contractor or something like that. There's so many different variations on this theme. working from home doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have benefits, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you do have benefits. You might
Right.
get to be your own boss, or you might have a boss. And it's just, I think,
Hmm.
just weigh all of the different options out there and think, what level of risk am I willing to hang on to? What level of freedom do I need to be satisfied?
Yeah.
And then find that balance that
Right.
works for your family, for you, for that era,
Right.
stage of your life.
Yeah. Every family's different.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Any final thoughts before we go? How can people find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. My name's Mark Degallier. It's Degallier. You could also fill out a form at our company's website, littlelightmedia.com, and that's how you could contact me.
How do you spell little light? Little?
LITTLELIGHTMEDIA.
Okay, got it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark. I'm so thankful that we were able to connect on a short notice,
Thank
even.
you.
Yeah, this was fun and interesting. And it sounds as though I get to interview half of your family now.
I think
So
maybe it all wore off a little bit.
it's good. All right. Well, thank you so much. I will put your website, your LinkedIn, and things into the show notes, and people can reach out if they have any questions about any of the things we talked about. Otherwise, I guess we'll maybe see you sometime in Tucson area.
Yeah, definitely. Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
This has been Mark Degallier. Did I say it correctly?
Yep.
Close. This has been Mark Degallier with April Malone and Yes, I Work From Home, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.